Hi there. I don't know if I'm on or not. It doesn't say, when you're with Rosie, you never know. That's because um, I have a circle, but I don't know if I'm live. It doesn't quite say live. Sure be nice. Okay, here we go. Now we are live. Live with Rosie Aiello at the Love is Kind Women's Circle because real love is kind, not terrorizing. Wow. And today I am going to be talking about how to grow in times of challenges. And this is not your first time you've been challenged. And I'm going to go into a lot more details, the misconception of what we think about challenges that hold us back, the the key to really moving forward during challenges, and why we want to move forward and not resist. So I'm going to go over all of those and so much more. So again, I'm Rosie Aiello. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Love is Kind movement. We also have that page, Love is Kind movement page. And I'm also the founder of the Love is Kind network, helping women who are emerging from abusive, narcissistic, demeaning, controlling relationships so they can really reclaim their voice, their value, their confidence and courage to create a productive and joyful life that they deserve and to find a kind love. I'm with the love of my life now, and it's just been the most joyous experience I've ever had. But today we are going to be talking not about him, although I could. We're going to be talking about other challenges that we've been facing. This pandemic has raised a lot of fears, and it has put people in a different mode than they have in the past. And people have just gone to work, life is just going humming along. But I'm going to address you who have been in that abusive relationship. I was reading an article earlier today, and it was interesting because she's a trauma specialist and she's dealt with Vietnam War veterans, other victims from like 9/11 and other things. And so she says, we're in a chronic threat. We're in hyper alert. We're in this chronic state of fear. And I'm thinking, yeah, I really know that feeling. I know that feeling of being in a chronic state of fear for 25 years. And it's so good to see you. We have been in a chronic state of fear for so long. And then now, on top of this, we are having challenges of dealing with this other fear, this other unknown that's putting us on alert. Are we going to get sick? Is somebody that I'm close to going to get sick and I can't even see them? All these things are just going on in our mind. So in this case, with a pandemic, we are creating a lot of fears by looking at the news. And so if you watch some of my other videos, you'll know two things I always start with, and always remind you with, is one is to really limit the amount of news you see. You have to learn the strategies to help yourself, because if you don't learn strategies for helping yourself, it's going to just continue on and on. So I always recommend that you maybe 15 minutes or so in the morning and 50 minutes in the late afternoon. For heaven's sakes, don't do it before you go to bed and then your mind is all working, right? So whether somebody has the news on in another room, if your brain is hearing it, it's going in. So you got to know that. And then to get yourself into a calm state is to do the deep breathing. Okay, the deep breathing, the belly breathing, so that calms your nervous system. This is like key to reducing that fear that this article was addressing, this chronic fear. And sometimes you think, well, Rosie, I can't even get into the deep breathing. You have to practice. And this is what this is all about. So one of the first misconceptions about challenges and how to grow during this time is that We have a conception that we shouldn't have to face challenges. We do everything to avoid challenges. And how do you know if you're avoiding challenges? Well, are you picking up or what I call developing some coping skills that are not really healthy? Are you now sitting on the sofa more? Are you watching more TV? Are you eating more? What has become your favorite food? It's probably not celery. It's probably like pizza and cookies, maybe ice cream, the typical comfort foods. Just know that all that sugar going into your body is not going to help you, but actually start hurting you and really repress your immune system, one, and two, impact your ability to really think and be calmer. So we have to really start to get over like, okay, let's take a look at myself. How am I dealing with this challenge? How am I dealing with the fear? Maybe fear for my children. And this is the time you can grow by just even asking yourself this question. How am I dealing with it? Is my brain just telling me all these wild stories? Which kind of gets into the second one, is that our brain is wired for survival. Our primitive part of our brain, we have different parts of our brain, but our primitive part of our brain is just wired for survival. And it's going to do anything it can. It's going to make you overeat. It's going to make you avoid. It's going to just protect you by having all these thoughts that you are in absolute urgent danger. And this is where you need to really step up and say, well, that's my brain. That's an old part of my brain. Maybe you didn't realize that. That's an old part of my brain that's telling me these things. And I have to just kind of override it, tame it, whatever word you want to use, control and say, hey, I hear you telling me these stories. And I'm reading more and you're just making it worse. Aha. So there's the combination. Listening to stories that you hear on the news, and heaven's sakes, for social media, I have seen so many false stories cross my path. And you have to be observant. People are just forwarding things without really looking at how the source is. And of course, that feeds everybody's fear. And that gets into that chronic state of fear. And that's what creates the trauma. We're now going to have a traumatized state. But you don't have to be in that traumatized state. You can step back and start looking at yourself and asking, how am I handling this? What can I do to step back and really look at what my thoughts are? So, for example, just start writing down your thoughts. Write them down so you get them out and you see them on a piece of paper. So now they're kind of separate from you. And you realize, oh, it's just some words that have been put together that form a sentence that scare me. That's all it is. Isn't that crazy? That's all it is. A whole bunch of words, I'm looking at me like a whole bunch of words that you've written on a piece of paper that now scare you. That came out of your brain. It doesn't mean any of them are true. And I would challenge that most of them are not true. So you can go back and look at that list and go, is it really true? Next one. Is that really true? Is it really true? And just keep asking yourself, is it really true? And even if you hear the stories of so many deaths in the United States and the world, you can still say, am I right at this moment in danger? There's a huge difference for being in fear and being in danger. Okay. So the first misconception is that we believe or we try to avoid challenges. But when you move towards, now this is getting into the third point, when you move towards the challenge, when you move towards the fear instead of resisting it, that is when you step into growing and starting to look outside yourself and to see what you've been through and what you can go through. So, for example, when you are resisting, okay, when you're resisting, you're putting this, you're resisting, and then it's let go, you fall down, right? But if you don't resist, there's no pressure, okay, there's no pressure, then you can go, oh, then you can start to see the world in a different place. You can start to see yourself in a different way when you're not resisting the fear, when you're not resisting the challenge. So I'm not saying you won't have fear. It's what you're going to choose to do with the fear. I'm not saying you're not going to have challenges. You are. You are right now, but this is not, for sure, this is not your first challenge. I want you to remember that. This is so important for you to remember that this is not your first challenge. And you may be thinking just the opposite. Oh my God, Rosie, I have had so many challenges. I mean, when is this ever going to let up? I lived in a state of fear for so many years with my partner or my husband, my boyfriend. And then now I have this fear. I just don't know if I can handle it. And I'm here to tell you that yes, you can handle it. 100% you can handle it if you choose to and if you work at it. I want you to look at me and I want you to understand that just because I am here sitting in front of you sharing this information does not mean I don't have challenges, I don't have fears. I'm a human being and this is part of the human experience. Having challenges and having fear is part of the human experience. And I work on my brain. I work on my thoughts. I work on my attitude every day. Sometimes I have a good day. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. But the thing is that if you just resist, if you just avoid, and you think that's the easy way out by avoiding, then you're not growing. So you're either growing or you're remaining stagnant, or you might even be regressing. Yeah, it's hard work. Sometimes it's hard work to be a human being. It's hard work to manage this and override this brain that has these thoughts. So again, write them down. Write down, and no judgment on your thoughts. It's like, oh my gosh, the world's going to come to an end. Like, is it really true? I mean, like, how old is the human race now? How old is the world? Okay. Challenge it. Every single thought, challenge it. And if you have trouble challenging your thoughts and you're just down in that downward spiral, then reach out for help. Okay. Reach out for help. Go to either theloveIsKindNetwork.com and hit my contact page, or go to the freedomfulfillmentquiz.com, where it gives you a series of questions that take like 4 minutes, maybe even less, which kind of like, where's your thoughts? Where are your mind? What are your challenges? And then you know where you're at and where you need to go. And that is so important, to have this awareness. So we want to keep focus on challenging what our primitive brain is telling us. So when you first start out with the deep breathing, do that for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Slow breathing. Don't hyperventilate. Breathe deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Make sure your tummy goes out. That's going to calm your nervous system. That will open you up to more receiving. It may not be perfect because you're still in a state of fear and stress. But that's number one. And then write down your thoughts and realize that even though you may not like the challenge, you're in it. So you can pretend this doesn't exist. Like when I was married, it wasn't so much I pretended that I wasn't in this marriage, but I pretended that, oh, I can fix it. That's what I pretended. I kept pretending, oh, I can fix this marriage if I just love him enough, if I'm just kind enough, if I just do whatever he tells me to do, it will be great. So I lived in a never never land. That was never going to happen. But I didn't know that, but I kept trying and trying. 25 years I kept trying. Okay. Now, that's why I help women who are emerging to get their voice back, their confidence and courage. And now you need the courage to deal with this, to deal with this pandemic, to deal with your fears. And I want you to tap into the strength that you have to deal with that. The narcissist that was in your that was in your experience, your relationship, the controlling, demeaning person. Hopefully you're out of it. But even if you're not, you're strong just to be even surviving that. But if you're out, also that you survived it and you move forward. And it's kind of like, wow, if you can do that, you can do this. And just work on your thoughts, work on what you want. When we have goals, when we set something in the future, something to look forward to, that helps bring us there. If we're constantly in a state of mind where our world is very small and we have no goals, we have no dreams, and maybe you're thinking, well, why am I going to dream? I mean, I don't have a job, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that. That's because you don't know the future. You only know your past. You know maybe the present right now, this very moment. But you have no clue what the future will hold for you. But you can dream what you want. I mean, if you have a choice to use your brain for something, do you want to choose? You can choose to dream about or fear, a fear-based dream. You can have a fear-based dream like, I'm never going to get out of this. This is going to be the end. I've lost everything. I don't know how I'm going to survive. My life is hell. You can focus on that. That's your choice. Or you can focus on, you know what? I'm going to have a happy and joyful life. I have no clue how it's going to happen, but I'm going to dream about that. I'm going to dream about being with somebody who's loving and kind. I'm going to dream about that. I don't know how it's going to happen, but that's what I want to dream about. I want to dream about something that's going to make me smile, not something that's going to make me terrified. That's what I want to dream about, because that's what I dreamed about. Because when I lived in the Middle East, and I was over there for over 23 years, in a relationship for 25. I was over there for over 23 years. 23 years of living in what I called my own terrorist camp. I didn't know for decades if I would ever get out or how I'd get out. I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I didn't know. But when the time came, when the time was right, everything moved very rapidly. And here I am back in the United States. I'm talking to you. I'm an international award-winning entrepreneur. I'm an international co-author of best-selling books. I have videos, I have programs, I have a business, and I have the love of my life. And if you told me 10, 11 years ago, especially when I was still there, that this would be my life, I would tell you, yeah, on which planet are you from? Because I didn't know. I didn't have that dream then. But you can have this dream right now. You can choose to grow during these challenges and know that you can get through. You can challenge your brain when it gives you these thoughts and to start saying, hey, I don't like that thought. Get away from me. That's not helpful. And you can just say, you're not a useful thought. Just talk to your thoughts. You're not a useful thought. Come back when you've got something useful to tell me. That is helpful. What can be a useful thought? What can be a more useful thought for you? It doesn't have to go to 180 degrees the other way where, oh, life is now it's like, oh, I am just the happiest person there is, because your body's going to know that that's not real. But we can come up with more useful thoughts. We can come up with any dream. That's okay. We can have dreams, and we can have more useful thoughts that get us to those dreams. And see, part of the fear comes from not knowing, right? Not knowing, all that uncertainty, which I've talked about before. And just like when we were with our abusers, we didn't know when they were going to leap out and blow up at us. So we were in that constant state of fear. I've done a lot of work, so I'm not in a state of fear now. I'm honest with you. I'm not from the pandemic. I have concerns. I'm aware, but I'm not in fear. This pandemic is, for me, is nothing compared to the fear that I experienced for 25 years. It's just different. And that's just it. These are challenges that you face. And if you have your own business, you're going to have challenge after challenge after challenge in your business, right? And if you have the attitude, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get through this. I'm resilient. I don't know how, but I'm moving forward. All of those kinds of thoughts are more helpful. They're not dramatic thoughts. They're just helpful thoughts. So I encourage you to grasp on to some of those thoughts, some of those that are more helpful to you, instead of thoughts that, I don't know, I'm losing my clients, I don't have money, I don't have this. It's like, because when it's hard to help people when they don't understand the structure of the brain and how it works. But this is the time to grow and start learning how your brain is. And when your brain is constantly telling you, you can't do it, you don't know how to do it, you don't know what you're doing, who do you think you are? You're not good enough. Huh? That's your brain. Put it on the piece of paper and look at it and say, you're not a useful thought to me. You're not helpful to me. So we have to train that. And the more you train it, the more you train that primitive brain to say, you're really helpful, like 2,000 years ago, but you're not very helpful right now. We needed that kind of fear-based action, but not now. It's not helpful. I want you to be helpful to me. You got to talk to your brain and rewire it, override its thinking. So I've given you lots of strategies today. So the key is, are you going to implement them? I would suggest that you listen to this again. Challenge yourself to listen to this again, so you can move up and grow during this challenging time. So you can realize that when you move into the fear, knowing that it's only an emotion, knowing that the challenges are always going to come, knowing that fear is going to be coming as a part of your life. That's the human experience. Now you're just experiencing another one. We don't want, you have one life to live. And how can you live this life the fullest when you sit back and you make the excuses and you start coping with drinking, overeating, and drugs and playing games and spacing out? And people will say, oh, that's easy for you to say. You don't know my situation. This is the time to challenge that thinking. This is the time to challenge all of that thinking, no matter what your situation is. And the more you challenge that thinking and override the primitive brain that is trying to rule you, then you can start using your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain. That's the newer part of your brain that does the thinking, that does the planning. Now ideas can come to you of what you can do. You have that choice. It takes work, takes practice, takes knowing how to do it. But you've gotten a lot of good steps here. Listen to it, write them down, and practice them. This is your precious life. You're living it right now. It's not meant to be put on hold. Your life is not on hold because maybe you're not working now. You have the opportunity to look and study yourself like you have never done it before. This is your chance. And when you go back to work or when things go to a new normal, they'll never be the same. So if you're expecting the world to be the same, it's not. It's already not the same. Some things are better. Some things may not be. We just have to see. But it doesn't matter. It's how you choose to live your life. It's how you decide how to show up. It's how you choosing to challenge your attitude and to work on lifting yourself up. Your life is way, way too important just to let it go. Way too important. You are more brilliant than you think. You are more capable than you think. You matter. Your life matters. You have to fight for your own freedom right now. And that starts by treating yourself with kindness, by learning to manage those thoughts and stepping away from them and telling them, those are not useful. I want some more useful thoughts. Have a blessed day and know you can do it. This is Rosie Aiello with the Love is Kind Network. Please write a little comment, share this. Tell other people to join the Love is Kind group, the Love is Kind Women's Circle, a women's circle where it's safe to let you go rise up so you can meet the challenge of emerging from an abusive relationship, finding your voice, your confidence, your courage, your worth. You deserve it. Have a wonderful day.